thanks Prof. Hua for the generous introduction and the shame that I can't speak Teochew. It's a strange family that we have. My grandfather, my father's father is Teochew, my father's mother is Hokkien, but we speak Cantonese in the family. I'm delighted to be here to talk about philanthropy. I have to work for my lunch, but I hope to convey that, I'm passionate about this topic, and when you're passionate about something, it doesn't feel quite like work. Okay. And the topic today is about the purpose and meaning of giving. I'll spend most of my time talking about this, which is why give. And I will tell you a little bit about the how, but I'll just gloss through that a bit later on, since that is part of my job. Two, let me just give you a brief introduction to my journey, not in terms of the schools, because that's been mentioned, but in terms of why I'm here, promoting and talking about philanthropy. I am, some of you know, some of you might know that I'm a recovering civil servant, having spent about 15 years there. But before I left service, I had the chance to be very involved in philanthropy. My family, my grandfather asked me to join the Lien Foundation's board. When your grandfather asks you to do something, the older generation, it's not exactly a request, it's an order, but I was very happy to do so. And that was more than 10 years ago now. And I found that I really enjoyed the work. And if you know anything about the Lien Foundation, we have great fun doing a lot of the things that we do, including our Life Before Death campaigns. And I decided, well, this is, if something is so fun, why not do it full-time, and so my midlife crisis came early, and I decided that in 2008 that I would leave the civil service and focus on promoting volunteerism and philanthropy as a full-time job. Although I must say that it's not as easy as doing it yourself, when you're spreading it around. So I run the National Volunteer and Philanthropy Center. We have set up Community Foundation of Singapore, as well as the Center for Nonprofit Leadership. I'll mention a little bit about those later. And I like to stress that they have nothing to do with Lien Foundation, because I get asked a lot. They weren't set up by Lien Foundation, which is a completely separate entity. My starting point is this, that really giving is not something that is optional or that is good to do when everything else is settled. That is really part of our makeup as human beings, to share love and to care for our fellow human beings. In fact, the word philanthropy, some of you would know, the meaning of the word philanthropy means love of humankind. Love of humankind. It's not giving money, it's just love. And let's get back to the roots of this. And why do we do this? It's because, and I would like to say this very clearly, and this is going to be a key message. It's linked to happiness. I strongly believe that it's not just about, it's an obligation, I've gotten so much from society, I must give back. But it generally promotes happiness when you give, and this has been shown in a lot of happiness surveys that, and in fact, some people will go so far as to say that the most selfish thing to do that you can do is to be altruistic, because what you get back is a lot more than you give. And more than that, at a personal level, is important for society, something that I'll come back to again. So you think that maybe it's a bit easy, to sell philanthropy, to promote philanthropy, but when I go about this work, I face a lot of obstacles, and one of the obstacles is this question, particularly when I work in Singapore. And most of my work is promoting philanthropy within Singapore. Where are the needs here? Where are the needs in Singapore? If you drive from your District 10 bungalow to Shenton Way to your office, you don't see needs along the way. And even if I explain what the needs are, I'll tell you a bit about them in a minute, they say, what, shouldn't the government take care of everything? Huh? Well, there's a very heavy dependency on the government to solve all problems. Let me just address both issues. Where are the needs? I mean, obviously, needs have evolved. In the 60s, you have lots of issues in terms of absolute poverty and people not having the basic needs. These have evolved. We don't see this anymore. People, kids around the water pipe. But the needs today are no less significant than the needs 40, 50 years ago. In fact, there are some needs that are completely new and very, very complex, whether it's, as you can see up here, environment, aging population, Prof. Kwa's pet areas, mental health has become, I think, more of an issue today in a highly stressed society, plus a fast-aging society. A lot of these were not prevalent. A lot of these new emerging issues were not prevalent back then in the 50s. So they are very much of us. And yet, okay, and let me just show you, I will just flash this very quickly. We know about the silver tsunami coming, dementia prevalence. Prof. Kwa can talk a lot more about this than I can. We really are not prepared for this aging populations. We are far from prepared. We are only playing catch up with all the healthcare infrastructure that we're building. And something that Lien Foundation found out is that, whoops, some of it is truncated, that Singapore ranks 18th out of 40 countries in terms of the quality of death. We did this with the Economist Intelligence Unit. Mental disorders, I found this interesting. The percentage of Singaporeans aged 20 to 59 years with minor psychiatric morbidity has increased in the short span of time from 9.5% to 13.4%. This comes from MOH. I didn't make these up. Dementia, anxiety, and depression, gambling, and yet less than half have sought medical assistance. The figures are that at least 1 in 10 Singaporeans will have some mental health issues throughout their lifetime, although I think the number should be more like 1 in 5. But even if you take 1 in 10, that's 500,000 people. How do we deal with issues that 500,000 people have, along with the families who have to cope with that? The spike in single women hit households. I think we know that the divorce rates today much, much higher than 50 years ago, and all the attendant problems that poses. And even though we have progressed as a nation in terms economically, materially, the low income is with us. And this has been debated in Parliament a lot. I don't have to belabor the point that there is a growing income inequality. The Gini coefficient has been going up for the last 20 years. So those are the needs. And so hope I can convince you in these short slides that there are needs in Singapore. The question is, why give? I mean, apart from the needs, there needs to be something else that prompts us, that motivates us to address these issues and to give of ourselves. And I'm going to talk about this at 3 different levels, at the individual, at the family, and the society level. One, giving can turn a life into a legacy. We were talking about Bill Gates at the table. Who will remember him as the founder of Microsoft, in 50 years' time? But people will remember him as the founder of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Similarly now, we think of Rockefeller as a household name because of the foundation, not because of his business, because he was not well-liked as a businessman. And linked to this, is a major catalyst in helping entrepreneurs move from success to significance. But even more important than that, as I mentioned, as one of my first points, that it is spiritually and emotionally fulfilling and brings joy to your life. I think this is key. And again, I want to emphasize that this has been shown again and again in happiness surveys. And if something makes you happy, why put it off? A lot of people will tell me, philanthropy, that's something for me. I'm too young for it. I said, how old are you? 70. So, when are you old enough for philanthropy? Then, That's a question. And it reduces for inheritors of wealth, it reduces the burden of inheriting great wealth. Interesting point. Have you considered that before? Unfortunately, I think a lot of, we wish that the children that we have sometimes would feel this burden, and unfortunately they don't, right? So at the family, and linked to that, is at the family level, the family giving can help perpetuate a family legacy. So it's not just the individual legacy, but the legacy of the family. So family foundations are often a vehicle for doing that. It binds your family together, reflecting on shared family values for a common cause for good. Quite often, we find, and that's true even in my own family, that when you talk about business, there could be lots of tensions and lots of different views. And you need some form of glue to bind everybody together. And philanthropy, quite often, is that glue, because it's not everyone in the family can participate in the business, but everyone can participate and have a view on philanthropy. And it's important that the philanthropy also reflects the values of the family, the values that are important to the family. And that's why philanthropy must be diverse. We don't want to straitjacket philanthropy to be this type or this type, and this type is better than this type. No, we don't do that. So, for example, in our family, we think innovation. This is the Lien family. Innovation is very important, and so our tagline is radical philanthropy, reflecting the values of the family. And transferring, and that becomes the means of transferring the family values across generations. Okay? But more than that is a lot of people, the outer high net worth individuals that I talk to, they are really concerned about their children, how their children will grow up. And and when the children are growing up with so much access, and I tell them that philanthropy is a good way of grounding your children and connecting your children to real life and making them think something beyond themselves. And which is linked to this point. It helps that family connect with the larger issues of the world and to contribute meaningfully to it. And the world has got enormous problems. Obviously, when you live in Singapore, even though we have needs, the needs are not anywhere as near the gravity of needs outside Singapore and the region around us. There are enormous problems. Income and wealth gaps are growing. Philanthropy is needed for the social cohesion. If you see the Occupy movement, you can see there are fissures in society happening, and community must step up. And this is more positive. It's not just about meeting needs. Philanthropy can be an expression of what you can do, and you are in a privileged position to do so. Quite a lot of entrepreneurs have got the skill sets as entrepreneurs to contribute to the problem solving in society. Why don't you use that? Why just focus? Yes, you want to continue to make the money and create the wealth, but it's not just about transferring wealth. It's about being part of the solution making, with the skills that you have. And you can make that difference, and cutting through the complexity and finding solutions. I've written about this, and you can look it up. That quite often governments and private sector cannot solve a lot of the problems, but civil society with philanthropic help can contribute enormously to those solutions. Let me just give you a very, very brief snapshot of where we are in terms of giving in Singapore. It's very healthy. Volunteerism rate has gone up from 9%, can't really see this so well, 9% in 2000 to 23% in 2010. Donations have also gone up, and this is donations by individuals. The total giving has gone beyond $1 billion. But I'd like to add that this lags GDP growth. GDP growth is higher than philanthropy growth. So the capacity to give by individuals is even higher. So we need to promote more philanthropy. Unfortunately, we don't have enough numbers for the high-income earners, but I think this chart will show, this is based on the percentage of income that people give to charity. This shows that the rich, the sense is that the wealthier people are not giving enough. If we extend it, actually it's a global phenomenon, in a lot of societies you see this, that the wealthy actually give less as a percentage of their income than the poorer people. There is a link, an increasing link between volunteerism and donating. It's interesting that we are probably the only national center in the world that puts volunteerism and philanthropy together, but actually they're very much part of the same, two sides of the same coin, quite often. People who give their time tend to give more money, and you can show, this is shown here. Current volunteers is the first circle on the left. They give an average of $675 a year. Non-volunteers, that's the right-hand side, they give $202. So the multiple is more than 3 times. So they're only to me, they're only giving people and non-giving people. The giving people give time, money, skills. And people who give overseas, this is also counterintuitive. I just want to break some mindsets. The people who give overseas actually give more locally than those who don't give overseas. It's not a zero-sum game. I'm going to just spend 2 minutes just flashing a couple of things about now getting started. And to give you a sense that there are many ways to start giving. And when I say giving here, it's time, treasure, and talent. The National Volunteer and Philanthropy Center we set, this is a platform called SG Cares, where you have access to immediately 200 over projects a month where you can sign up for. And you'll get a slot to do a volunteer activity at a center, at a charity, at a particular time, particular date. Very easy entry point. You can see that we have many projects across the different sectors, whether it's with the social services or with environment or the arts. We have a donation portal. If you are not familiar with the charities in Singapore, and you want to find charities beyond the usual brand names, we have more than 250 charities on SG Gives that you can look up. So we have a SG Cares for volunteering, SG Gives for giving. We also have the Community Foundation platform for those who want to give more and who want the giving to be structured. We see ourselves as the bridge between donors and causes and charities, and this is what we have achieved so far in the 3 years that we have been set up. Okay. These are the sort of services that we give. And if you want to give your skills, we have the Center for Nonprofit Leadership. We place volunteers onto boards. And that's, again, a very meaningful way for those who have established their careers and they want to use their management skills in the nonprofit sector. And so you have the various opportunities here, from what we call generalist volunteering, and you can go to SG Cares, to the leadership volunteering, where you can go to the Center for Nonprofit Leadership. And you also have specialist volunteering, the kind that matches professionals to do professional work for nonprofit organizations. Let me just end by saying this, that there are many opportunities to give, many diverse opportunities. So let's not wait, okay? Let's not wait. There's something there for everyone, that will suit the styles or the passion, the interest of everyone. That's point number one. Get started. Don't wait till you are 90, when you can't really give very much of your time. 2 is that there's no one way of doing philanthropy. Let me re-emphasize the point. And what is important is that your own personal passion and personality overlaps with the needs in society. So when your own private value overlaps with what we call public value, then that philanthropy becomes reinforced. You know? So you're doing something that you're personally convicted about, and as you do it, you can see the difference it makes in society. That is that's very reinforcing. And three, you know, because there's no right way. I would just say, no, just experiment. Just give and experiment, and be bold along the way. You know, if you wish. And there are lots of people to help you if you are not as skilled, you know, and do come to us at the Community Foundation too if you are interested. But I need to make a final pitch, you know, since this is an NUS event that quite often we find, oh no, the universities have lots of money, so you shouldn't. Do they really need the money? I think. Well, one good reason to give to NUS is that you're the 1.5 times matching, right? Which is something that you never get elsewhere. And we were talking about it. I said, well, what product gives you such a great return, you know, in the market that you get more than double the return, huh? But we found also, I mean, at Lien Foundation, a lot of donors like to donate to, increasingly, not just to the organization, but to specific programs. They want to be connected. Increasingly, people want to be connected to a cause. And the universities have done a great job, you know, in NUS, particularly, you know, in helping donors do that. To structuring programs, you know, that can, like this particular program, I must thank Mr. K.H. Tan for this series, that helps donors see where the money is going to in an area that they're passionate about. And this is the new trend in philanthropy, you know, not just about giving to a general fund or a big bucket fund or the organization in general. So just get started, and thanks for listening to me.